Have you ever felt like the trees were whispering your name, calling you into the dark or dark face? What would you lead to escape? Have you ever felt like the trees were whispering your name, calling you into the dark or dark face? Not just the wind playing tricks, but something alive, something that knows you, reaching out from the shadows. If that idea makes your skin crawl, you're in the right place. Welcome to Friday 13, where we don't just tell stories, we rip open the veil and drag you into the nightmare. You clicked this video, The Old Tree Whispers. It knows my name because you're drawn to the dark, aren't you? You're one of us, craving that jolt when the world turns upside down, when the ordinary becomes a scream you can't unhear. This isn't some campfire tale. This is real, raw, and personal. I'm Ethan, and I'm about to take you deep into my story. A true horror that'll stick with you long after the screen fades. So, settle in, crank the volume, and let's step into these woods together. Because on Friday 13, every whisper has teeth.
Let's linger on that first question. What would you do if the trees started whispering? What would you do if the trees started whispering? Hold it tight, because it's not just a thought. It's where this nightmare begins. I'm Ethan, your guide through this mess. And I'm telling you now, this story's got layers, twists, and a chill that'll creep into your bones. You're here on Friday 13 for a reason. Want the real stuff? The kind of tale that makes you question the shadows outside your window. Well, you've got it. This is long, it's detailed, and it's built to keep you hooked. Ready? Let's walk into the woods near my new home and see what's waiting.
Picture this: a small town just outside Seattle, hugged by ancient woods that feel older than time. That's where I moved last spring. Me, Ethan, 28, chasing a quieter life after years in the city. I'm a graphic designer by trade, but out here, I'm a hiker, a guy who loves the smell of pine and the crunch of leaves underfoot. That night, I took a new trail, one I hadn't explored. The air was crisp, the forest silent. Too silent, you know? Then it happened. A whisper, faint at first, drifting through the trees. Ethan, my name. I froze. Wind, right, had to be. But the branches didn't move. The air was dead still. My pulse kicked up. What would you do? Brush it off? Or listen closer? I listened, and that's when it all started unraveling. Here's your next question. What if those whispers aren't random? What?
I kept walking, drawn to this place, power with the floor, and praying or drink, drawn to this place, with camera and weight on board. I kept walking, drawn to this thing, an old tree, older than anything around it, gnarled and bent, like it was alive, watching me. I got closer, stupid, maybe, and saw carvings in the bark. Weird symbols, jagged and deep, like someone or something etched them centuries ago. My fingers brushed the marks, and the whispers hit me like a wave. Ethan, Ethan, loud, clear, personal. I stumbled back, heart slamming against my ribs. The forest tightened around me, shadows stretching, trees leaning in. I turned to run, but the trail? Gone, swallowed by the woods. Panic clawed at me. How do you lose a path in seconds? And why did it feel like the forest was steering me? That first question's got an answer. The whispers weren't random. They were for me. So, what if they're not letting me go? I was lost, chest heaving, the whispers everywhere. I was lost, chest heaving, the whispers everywhere. I was lost, chest heaving. The whispers always were deadly. I was lost and denied the whispers play for the race. I looked up at that tree and, God help me, I saw faces in the bark, twisted, screaming faces, frozen in agony. I blinked, and they vanished, but the chill stayed. I remembered what Mrs. Jenkins said. She's the town historian, all sharp eyes and old stories. When I moved in, she warned me, stay clear of the old tree. It's been here forever, and it's got a mind of its own. I'd smirked then, not now. The ground felt soft, sucking at my boots, and the whispers deepened into a growl. You belong here, Ethan. With us. My stomach flipped. Belong? With what? The tree knew me, my name, my voice, maybe my soul. I bolted, but the whispers followed. I made it home, but the forest came with me. I made it home, but the forest came with me. I made it home, but the forest came with me. I made it home, but the forest came with me. Creaks in the floor, shadows darting just out of sight. Stuff I couldn't explain. Sleep? Forget it. The whispers slipped into my dreams. Come back, Ethan. Come back. I'd wake up soaked in sweat, shaking. Next morning, I tracked down Mrs. Jenkins. She sat me down, her voice low. That tree's a gateway, she said. To where? I asked. Another realm, she whispered. Spirits linger there, trapped. It calls people by name for a ritual, a soul to keep the balance. My throat went dry. It's chosen you, Ethan. That question, what if they're not letting me go? Here's your answer. They weren't. The tree wanted me, bad. So, what if it's stronger than I am?
Days blurred. No sleep, just whispers. Louder, hungrier. I fought it, but every night I'd end up at the wood's edge, staring down that path. One night, I broke. I followed the call, deeper than before, to the clearing. The tree pulsed, alive, and then I saw them. Figures, ghosts, slipping from the shadows. Hollow eyes, mouths gaping, circling me. Ethan, Ethan, they chanted. Souls the tree had taken, trapped forever. I was next. It hit me. Every visit fed it. My fear, my presence, it was growing stronger. Mr. Jenkins' words echoed. It won't stop until it claims you. I was trapped, sinking. That question, what if it's stronger? It was. So, what if I can't fight it? I don't know how it ends. Or, if it does, I don't know what it is. I don't know how it is. I don't know what it is. I am. I don't know how it is. I don't know what it is. I see how it is that shouldn't do. I don't know how it ends, or Have you ever watched your child talking to an empty space, giggling at the air, and wondered, really wondered, if they're seeing something you can't? Something that's always been there, just out of sight? That's where my story starts. Welcome to Friday 13, the channel where every tale is true, no matter how terrifying. I'm John, and what I'm about to tell you isn't some campfire ghost story. It's my life, my daughter's life, and it's why I'm still afraid to look up when the lights go out. If you're ready to face the kind of fear that lingers long after the screen fades, stick with me. Lock your doors, turn down the lights, and let's step into a nightmare that's all too real. Because what Emily saw, it's still here. It began with a giggle, something so innocent, you'd brush it off. But what if that giggle was the first sign of something watching you? That's how it started for me. And trust me, you won't look at your ceiling the same way after this. I'm 35, a single dad, and I've always been a rational guy. I don't believe in ghosts or the supernatural, never have. But about 6 months ago, that all changed. It was a Tuesday evening, nothing special, until Emily started talking to the ceiling. She was sitting on the floor, coloring,
when she suddenly looked up and giggled. 5. Who are you talking to, sweetie? I asked, thinking it was her imagination. She smiled and said, the lady in the ceiling. She's funny. I laughed it off. Kids and their invisible friends, right? But then she did it again the next day, and the next. Always at dusk, always to the same spot. I'd glance up, see nothing but cracked plaster, and feel this chill, like the room had dropped 10 degrees. Was it just her imagination, or was something up there, listening? The next week, it got worse. Emily started whispering to the ceiling, like she was sharing secrets. I'd catch snippets, don't tell daddy, or she's watching us. My stomach twisted every time. I tried to brush it off, told myself it was a phase. But one night, I woke up at 3:13 a.m. to find Emily standing by my bed, staring up at the ceiling. She wants to play, she said. I grabbed her, pulled her close, and asked, who, Emily? Who wants to play? She just smiled and said, the lady in the ceiling. My blood ran cold. What was she seeing that I couldn't? After that night, I couldn't ignore it anymore. Emily's behavior was changing. She was quieter, more withdrawn, like she was carrying a secret too heavy for a 4-year-old. I started noticing things too. Footsteps in the attic at night, faint whispers when the house was silent. I checked the ceiling, but it was always empty. One evening, I decided to ask her directly. Emily, I said, what does the lady look like? She drew a picture, a tall figure with hollow eyes, long fingers, and a smile that stretched too wide. My hands shook as I looked at it. Was this just a child's imagination, or was something in my house, watching us? I showed the drawing to my sister, Claire. She's a child psychologist, always quick with a logical explanation. It's probably just stress, she said. Kids pick up on things. Maybe it's the move, or missing her mom. But I saw the doubt in her eyes when Emily giggled from the other room, whispering to the air, again. That night, I set up my phone to record the bedroom while we slept. At 3:13 a.m., the footage showed Emily sitting up, talking to the ceiling. But there was something else, a shadow, faint but unmistakable, crawling across the ceiling. It was there for a split second, then gone. Was it real? Had I finally caught it? I had to know if this was more than just Emily's imagination. I started digging into the house's history. It was built in the 2020s, and, according to public records, a family named the Carters lived here for decades. In 1954, their daughter, Mary Carter, died under mysterious circumstances. The articles were vague. Tragic accident, they called it. But when I dug deeper, I found a police report. Mary had been found in the attic. No clear cause of death. The family moved out shortly after, and the house stayed vacant for years. Was Mary the lady in the ceiling? Was she reaching out to Emily? Oh, I took it to Mrs. Jenkins, the town historian. She's lived here forever, knows every secret. When I mentioned the house, her face went pale. That place, she said, it's cursed. Mary didn't just die. She was taken. Something's been in that house ever since. I pressed her. Taken by what? She wouldn't say, just muttered, "Don't let Emily talk to it, John." My stomach twisted. What was in my house? And why was it fixated on my daughter? The whispers got worse. Angry, insistent. Emily started sleepwalking, standing in the attic doorway, staring into the dark. One night, she woke up screaming, clawing at her arms. "She's mad, Daddy, she's mad." I couldn't take it anymore. Claire and I decided to confront it. We stood in the bedroom, waiting. At 3:13 a.m., the ceiling creaked, and a shadow stretched across it. Long, thin, with fingers like claws. Claire gasped. "John, look," I shouted. "Mary, is that you?"
The shadow twisted, and a voice, cold, hollow, whispered back, "She's mine." Was it Mary? Or something else?
We ran, didn't stop till we hit the living room. The next day, I called a medium, Sarah. She walked in, took one look at the ceiling, and froze. "There's two presences here," she said. "Mary's spirit, she's trapped, scared. But the other? It's dark, ancient, and it's not leaving." My heart sank. "What does it want?" She stared at me. "Emily, it's been waiting for a child, someone to possess."
Sarah gave me a ritual to free Mary. Salt, candles, words to break the hold. I found an old locket in the attic that day, with a photo of Mary inside. That night, I set it up. At 3:13 a.m., the ceiling groaned, the shadow stretching across it. I lit the candles, poured the salt, and shouted the prayer. The room exploded, shadows swirling, the ceiling cracking. Then, stillness. A faint figure appeared, Mary, smiling weakly, before fading. The shadow shrieked, dissolving into the dark. Was it over? Had I saved her?
That was a month ago. The whispers are gone, and Emily's back to normal. But some nights, I feel it. Eyes on me, cold and patient. Maybe it's still here, waiting for me to let my guard down. So, if your child ever talks to the ceiling, don't ignore it. It might be trying to tell you something, or warn you.
That's my truth, and it's still clawing at me. If you've ever felt something watching you, or heard a whisper you can't explain, tell me in the comments. I need to know I'm not alone. Was it Mary? Was it that thing?
Smash that like button if this story's keeping you up tonight. And subscribe to Friday 13 for more real horrors that'll make you check your corners. Share your own stories. We're a community of truth seekers here. Why? Stay sharp, because in the silence, something's always listening.
What would you do if you moved into your dream home, only to find a locked room you didn't know existed, and heard something alive behind the door? That's not a what if for me. It's what happened. My name's Ethan, and this isn't just some spooky tale to pass the time.
It's real. It's my life. And it's why I'm still afraid to close my eyes at night. Welcome to Friday 13, where we only tell true horror stories that'll crawl under your skin and stay there. If you're ready to face the unknown with me, lock your doors, turn off the lights, and let's step into a nightmare that's all too real. Because this, it could happen to you. It started with a sound I couldn't explain. A sound that made me question everything. A sound that made me question everything I thought I knew about my own house. And trust me, by the end of this, you'll be listening a little closer to the noises in your own walls.
I'm 22, a graphic designer, and last spring, I decided it was time for a change. I'd been stuck in apartments my whole life, so when I found this house online, old, affordable, full of charm, I jumped at it. It was a fixer-upper in a quiet town, the kind of place where everyone knows everyone.
The first few days were great, unpacking, painting, making it mine.
But then, one afternoon, I went down to the basement to check the furnace.
That's when I saw it. A door I hadn't noticed before. It was tucked behind some rotting crates, covered in cobwebs, with a rusted padlock chaining it shut. It looked like it hadn't been touched in decades. I figured it was just storage, but something about it felt wrong. Why was it locked? What was worth hiding in a house this old? I asked the realtor, Mr. Hensley, about it. He laughed it off, said old houses have their quirks. Probably just junk from the last owners. But his laugh was forced, and he changed the subject fast. I tried to let it go, but I couldn't stop wondering. What was behind that door? That night, I found out I wasn't the only one curious.
It was my third night in the house, and I woke up to a noise. Soft at first, like a sigh drifting up from the basement.
I thought it was the furnace kicking on, but it didn't stop. Then, it turned into a tapping, slow and steady, like someone testing a wall. I grabbed my flashlight and headed downstairs, telling myself it was nothing. The basement was freezing, the air heavy. I aimed the light at the locked door, and the tapping stopped, like it knew I was there. Then, just as I turned to leave, I heard it. A single, sharp thud right behind the door. My heart jumped. Was something in there? Had it heard me too? I bolted upstairs and locked the basement door, but sleep was off the table. The next night, it happened again. Tapping, then a thud, always at 3:13 a.m. By the third night, it wasn't just noises. I started feeling watched. I'd be in the kitchen, and the hairs on my neck would stand up, like eyes were boring into me from below. I had to know. What was making those sounds? Was it trapped or waiting? I couldn't ignore it anymore. I started digging into the house's history. It was built in the 20s, passed down through the same family, until Mr. Hensley sold it. So, I found tax records, photos, even a newspaper article from 1972 about a teenage girl, Mary Klein, who vanished from this town. Her family lived here back then. No one ever found her. Then I hit the jackpot. An old diary I found in the attic, written by a man named Harold Klein, Mary's uncle. One entry, dated 1973, made my stomach drop. The room is sealed. It has to stay that way. She's not herself anymore. My mind raced. Who was she? Was this about Mary? What had they locked away? I showed it to my friend Sarah. She's a history buff, always up for a mystery. It's probably just a creepy coincidence, she said, but her voice wavered. I wasn't so sure. That night, I set up my phone to record outside the door. At 3:13 a.m., the tapping started, louder, insistent. When I played it back, I nearly dropped the phone. Mixed with the taps was a voice, faint and raspy, saying, "I'm still here." It wasn't the wind. It wasn't pipes. It was her, or something pretending to be her. I had to end it. The noises, the voice, the feeling of being hunted in my own home. It was too much. Sarah agreed to help me open the door. We grabbed a crowbar and went down together. The basement felt alive, the air buzzing. We stood in front of the door, and the tapping started. Faster, frantic, like it knew what we were about to do. Sarah whispered, "Ethan, are you sure?" I wasn't, but I nodded. We jammed the crowbar into the lock and pried. The chain snapped, and the door creaked open. What was waiting inside? Was it Mary, or something worse? The room was tiny, barely bigger than a closet, with a dirt floor and no windows. At first, it seemed empty, just cobwebs and dust. But then, Sarah pointed the flashlight at the walls. They were covered in scratches, deep, desperate marks forming words. "Help me." My chest tightened. Had Mary been here? Suddenly, the temperature plummeted, and the door slammed shut behind us. We were trapped. And then, from the shadows, I saw it. A figure, small and hunched, moving toward us. Was it her? Or had something else taken her place? We hammered on the door, but it wouldn't give. The figure was feet away, its breathing ragged, uneven. I could feel it. Anger, pain, something ancient and wrong. Sarah was crying, and I was yelling, but the voice from the recording cut through everything. "I'm still here." It was coming from the figure. In a blind panic, I remembered the diary. She's not herself anymore. I shouted, "We're leaving! We're done!" The air shifted, like a weight lifting, and the door flew open. We stumbled out, falling up the stairs. When I looked back, the room was empty, the door locked again. But the scratches were gone.
Had we freed her? Or let something else loose? That's my story, and it's as true as the goosebumps I've got retelling it.
I don't live in that house anymore, but I still hear that voice some nights. I'm still here.
If you've ever felt something watching you, heard a sound you can't place, or found a corner of your home that doesn't feel right, you're not alone. Share your story in the comments. I want to know. Could it be Mary? Could it be something else? Hit that like button if this kept you glued to the screen, and subscribe to Friday 13 for more true horrors that'll make you double check your locks. Because out there, in the quiet, something's waiting. Stay vigilant. I'll see you in the shadows. Name in the dead of night. Not just any doll, but one that's been locked away in your attic for years, forgotten by everyone, except, apparently, itself. Welcome to Friday 13, where we only tell true stories, no matter how terrifying. My name's Alex, and what I'm about to share isn't just a story. It's my life, and it's real. If you're here, you're ready to step into the shadows with me. So, lock your door, dim the lights, and let's dive into a nightmare that'll make you question every doll you've ever seen. Because what happened to me, it could happen to anyone. It all started with a whisper. Something so small, you'd brush it off. But what if that whisper was the first sign of something watching you? Oh, that's where my story begins. And trust me, you'll want to hear this. Because if it can happen to me, it can happen to you. I was 25 when it all began. My grandmother had just passed away, and I was helping my family clean out her house in rural Ohio. It was a quiet place, the kind where everyone knows your name and nothing ever happens. Until it does. That day we were up in the attic, sorting through decades of memories, when I found it. An old porcelain doll, about 2 feet tall, with a faded dress and glassy blue eyes that seemed to follow me. It was creepy, sure, but I'd seen worse. I picked it up, dusted it off, and set it on a shelf. "That's been here forever," my mom said, barely glancing at it. "Probably belonged to your great aunt or something." I didn't think much of it. Until that night. I was staying in the guest room, just down the hall from the attic. It was around 3 a.m. when I heard it. A whisper, soft but clear, like a child calling my name. "Alex." I sat up, heart pounding. The house was silent, everyone else asleep. I told myself it was just a dream, but then I heard it again. "Alex." This time, it was louder, closer. I grabbed my phone, turned on the flashlight, and crept down the hall. The attic door was cracked open, even though I was sure we'd closed it. I pushed it open, and there it was, the doll, sitting on the shelf, staring right at me. But what chilled me to the bone was the realization that the whisper had come from inside the attic. So, if no one was up there, who or what was calling my name? After that first night, it didn't stop. Every night, it didn't stop. Every night, at exactly 3 a.m., I'd hear it. "Alex." Sometimes it was a whisper, sometimes a soft giggle, but always my name. I tried to ignore it, told myself it was just the house settling, or my imagination running wild. But deep down, I knew. It was the doll. I started avoiding the attic, but the whispers followed me. One night, I decided to confront it. I marched up to the attic, flashlight in hand, and stood in front of the doll. "What do you want?" I demanded. The doll just stared back, silent. But as I turned to leave, I heard it. A faint, childlike voice. "Stay with me, Alex." I froze. The voice wasn't coming from the doll. It was coming from behind me. I spun around, but the attic was empty. My heart was racing, my hands shaking, I knew I wasn't alone up there. I started digging into the doll's history. Turns out, it had belonged to my great aunt, who died under mysterious circumstances in the 50s. Locals whispered about strange noises coming from the house after her death, but no one ever found out why. I even found an old journal tucked away in the attic, filled with frantic scribbles. It's not me. It's not me. It's not me. My stomach dropped. Whatever was happening, it had happened before, and now it was happening to me. But here's the question that kept me up at night. If it wasn't my great aunt talking through the doll, then who or what was using her voice? I couldn't take it anymore. The whispers, the giggles, the feeling that I wasn't alone. I had to end it. So I barricaded the attic door, set up my phone to record, and waited. At exactly 3 a.m., the whispers started. Alex, Alex. But this time, they were louder, more insistent. Then, the chair blocking the door began to shake, as if something was pushing against it. I grabbed the bat, heart racing, and shouted, "Who's there?" The whispers stopped. Silence. But just as I let out a breath, I heard it. A voice, low and gravelly, whispering my name. Alex. It wasn't coming from the attic. It was coming from behind me. I turned around, but the room was empty. My phone beeped. The recording had stopped. When I played it back, I heard the whispers, the giggles, and then something that made my blood run cold. A second voice, faint but clear, saying, "He's not alone." I wasn't the only one in the house. But who or what was with me? That's when I knew. I had to get out. But as I reached for the front door, the whispers started again. Only this time, they were coming from the doll, sitting on the shelf, its glassy eyes fixed on me. Me. I didn't wait to see what would happen next. I bolted out of the house, into the street, and didn't look back. The next day, I moved out, leaving everything behind. But here's the thing. A week later, I got a call from the new tenant. He sounded shaken. "Hey man," he said, "do you ever hear whispers?" I hung up without answering. Because deep down, I know it's still there, waiting for the next person to move in. And now I'm left wondering, what does it want with me? And why hasn't it stopped calling my name? And that's my story. Or, as much as I can tell without losing what's left of my sanity. If you've ever heard a sound you can't explain, felt a presence you can't see, you're not alone. And if you've experienced something unexplainable, like whispers in the dead of night, share it in the comments below. Maybe we can piece together what's lurking in the shadows. Smash that like button if this story sent a shiver down your spine. And subscribe to Friday 13 for more true horror stories that'll keep you awake long after the screen goes dark. Because next time you hear a whisper, who's really calling your name? Stay safe out there. I'll see you in the shadows. Period. What if your reflection had a mind of its own? What if, when you turned away, it stayed behind? What if, when you turned away, it stayed behind, watching you, waiting? That's not just a nightmare. It's what happened to me. My name's Alex, and for weeks, I've been trapped in a living horror story, right here in my own bathroom. You're watching Friday 13. The channel where every story is true, no matter how terrifying. If you're here, it's because you're ready to step into the shadows with me. So, lock your door, dim the lights, and let's dive into a nightmare that'll make you rethink every mirror you've ever trusted. Because what I'm about to tell you, it's real. And it's not over yet. It all started with a flicker. Something so small, you'd brush it off. But what if that flicker was the first sign of something watching you. That's where my story begins. And trust me, you'll want to hear this. Because if it can happen to me, it can happen to anyone. I just moved into this place, a quiet little apartment on the edge of town. It was a fresh start after a rough year, and I was finally feeling like things were looking up. Oh, the bathroom had this old mirror, though, heavy, wooden framed, probably older than the building itself. It came with the place, and I didn't think much of it. At first, everything was normal. I'd shave, brush my teeth, go about my day. But then, I started noticing it. I'd turn my head, and out of the corner of my eye, my reflection wouldn't quite keep up. Like it was lagging behind me, just for a split second. You ever get that feeling? Like your own face isn't playing by the rules? I did. And it was only the beginning. I told myself it was nothing. Tired eyes, bad lighting, maybe too much coffee. But then, one night, it happened. I was washing my face, eyes shut tight, when I heard it. A whisper, soft and close, like someone breathing right beside me. My eyes flew open, and there I was in the mirror, but I wasn't. My reflection was standing still, head tilted, staring at me. I hadn't moved yet. My hands were still dripping in the sink, but it was already watching. What would you do if your reflection moved before you did? I froze, and that's when I knew. This wasn't in my head. After that, it didn't stop. It got bolder. I'd walk past the mirror and catch it turning its head when I hadn't, or I'd look away and its eyes would stay locked on me, like it was daring me to notice. I started avoiding the bathroom altogether, but that didn't help. The whispers followed me. At first, they were faint, like static from a broken radio. But by the third night, they woke me up at 3 a.m., sharp and clear, pulling me out of bed. I'd stumble to the bathroom, heart pounding, and there it was, my reflection, waiting. But here's the real question. What if it wasn't just watching? What if it was planning something? I started writing it all down, trying to convince myself I wasn't crazy. Maybe it was stress, or the apartment messing with my head. But then, I found something that changed everything. The previous tenant, her name was Emily. She'd lived here before me, and vanished 6 months earlier. No goodbye, no forwarding address, just gone. I dug around, and under a loose floorboard in her old room, I found a crumpled note. It said, "Don't trust the mirror. It takes what it wants." My stomach dropped. Whatever this was, it had happened before. And now, it was happening to me. I couldn't take it anymore. The whispers, the staring, the feeling that I wasn't alone. I had to end it. So, I grabbed a hammer, ready to smash that mirror into 1,000 pieces. But when I raised it, my reflection didn't flinch. It just stood there, grinning, like it knew I couldn't win. I swung and missed. The hammer crashed into the wall, shattering the tile. My reflection laughed. I didn't. Then, I felt it, a cold hand on my shoulder, fingers digging in. I spun around, but the room was empty. When I looked back at the mirror, the glass was blank. My reflection was gone. But what if it wasn't gone at all? What if it was behind me? It was out. My reflection, my ghost, had stepped into the room. It moved toward me, slow and deliberate, and I felt its breath on my neck, cold as ice. "You're not real," I whispered, voice shaking. It smiled, a wide, twisted grin, and said, "I am now." I ran, bolted out of the bathroom, through the apartment, and into the street. When I dared to look back, it was standing at the window, wearing my face, watching me go. And now? Now, I don't know who's who. Every mirror I pass, every shadow I see, I'm terrified it's still there, waiting to take my place. That's my story. Or as much as I can tell without losing what's left of my sanity.
If you've ever felt that chill down your spine, that moment where your reflection didn't feel right, you're not alone.
And if you've seen something that defies explanation, drop it in the comments below.
Maybe we can piece together what's lurking on the other side.
Subscribe to Friday 13 for more true horror stories that'll keep you awake long after the screen goes dark.
Because the next time you look in the mirror, who's really looking back?
Key. Stay safe out there. I'll see you in the shadows.